Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is an idea from a viewer. It's something I've actually done before, but just forgot of the possibility. And what it basically is going back into the past, the dim and distant in this particular case, and downloading a video off of YouTube and reloading it like it was a new video, but making the point that it's not. Now, there is a reason for that, having an introduction on the front of the original video. If I download from YouTube and try and reload it as it is, they will accuse me of theft, because there's already one on YouTube identical to the one I'm trying to load. You see what I mean? So by sticking an introduction on the front, creating a new video, it's not the same as the one that's up there. So that's the theory of sticking a bit on the front. Anyway, so that's the theory. This video goes back to September 2016. So it's a very, very old video. I think 2016 was the year I started making videos. The one thing that's very, very noticeable is the amount that's round my middle. Or let's put it this way, the amount that's not round my middle compared with what's there now. I've still got the same shirt on, but you know. Anyway, this is a look at Miltoniopsis as I saw them in 2016. And yeah, it's an idea to fill in gaps while there's not much going on to film currently. Some may say I'm cheating, but at the end of the day, it's something to watch, and there's an awful lot of people watching this channel that will not have gone back that far to watch older videos, and newer people may not have gone back at all, only watched since they joined. So that's the idea of this, a blast from the past. So let's get going. You even get the old music at the beginning. Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Following on from the last video, I did say that everything was dry and everything needed looking at and watering. Well, I say if necessary. I know it's necessary. My Miltoniopsis don't get looked at very often. They live on the floor in the coolest place that I've got, under a constant computer 6x6 fan that runs 24/7, so they've got constant air movement, and in my environment that's the best I can do for them. They get reasonably bright light. Obviously that's getting less this time of year, but I just thought I'd do a brain dump on Miltoniopsis. Out of the orchids I've got, I'd say they are the fussiest, and it's a matter of getting your head round them. That's all it is. If you're growing them well, then well done, because you're one of the few. A lot of people struggle with them, and they're not difficult, they're just fussy. So I thought I'd pick each one up and turn as I water it and talk about what I'm doing. Now that weighs nothing. It's light as a feather because it's dry. Now I don't know the weight of all of my pots. I've got too many, but I do know when a plant's dry, and that's one of them. So let's talk about what's happened to this plant as a consequence of it getting dry. Well, quite honestly, in a very humid environment, when the temperatures haven't been that warm for the last few days, what's happened to it? Absolutely nothing. Nothing is wrong with this plant. The fact that it is virtually dry. This one hasn't been repotted. It's still in what I consider to be a satisfactory media. It's in bark, yeah? It's got some roots showing around the top of the pot, a little bit of frazzling on the ends of those roots. That happens naturally with these. These do not naturally produce aerial roots. Some do, but they're better off in a media. That's how they would normally grow. Now that's not a bad plant. It's got a good new growth coming up here, and it's got another one down in there. So it's effectively got two new growths. Providing they keep growing and get up to the size of the older bulbs, then they will flower probably down both sides of each of the new bulbs as they mature. Okay, what's going on then? This water here has no feed in it. However, it's filtered water, so it does have a TDS value. So there's something in that water, I just don't know what. But whatever it is not harmful. There's no chlorine, that's long since been taken away. So it's probably got some nitrates in it. It'll certainly have some calcium in it, which is good stuff. You know, that doesn't do your plants any harm as long as it's in sensible quantities. So there's some stuff in there. There's enough to keep that plant ticking over whatever's in my tap water after it's been filtered. Okay, light as a feather pot, and in this case I'm going to water it. And I'm really going to water it because it's dry. Now what happens as I tip that water through? Any acidity that has built up in that media is now going to get a wash. But in this particular case, it's not going to do much. The reason it's not going to do much is that the bark is dry. Now if you want to try and wash acidity out of media, it needs to be moist in the first place or it doesn't work as well. Okay, so that one's now watered. I'm quite happy with that plant. It's got no dead bits on it. It's got 2 strong pseudobulbs and 2 new growths. It's got no tag on it because it didn't have one when I bought it. Now I will put a tag on that when it blooms, when I know what colour it is. Then I can differentiate my plants by the colours of the blooms. But until they bloom, it had blooms when I got it and I forgot to write it down. Can't be good all the time. So that's that one done. That can go back into its cool spot. Let's have a look at the next one. Oh. As I say, I haven't looked at these for a while. Now again, this one's in a clear pot, so I can not only feel what's going on, flipping dry, I can see what's going on. That bark is dry, right down to the base. Are the roots dead? No. There are green root tips throughout that pot. That plant has come to no harm at all being dry. However, if this was back in the summer and the temperatures were up, that would now be starting to frazzle. These are cool growing plants. They don't like heat. They also don't like dry atmospheres. These are not an ideal house plant. I've seen people grow them very successfully in a house, but that's not their ideal world. I can see one little leaf that's got a kink in it on the new growth. That'll be due to the dryness, I suspect. So again, let's see now. Let me see if I can demonstrate. If this plant was still slightly moist, I'd go like this. I would just do what I call a trickle water, just to make sure the surface is wet. Yeah? That way I haven't re-soaked the base that's already wet. What you're going to do, if you keep doing that and the bottom of your pot doesn't dry out, is you will start the media breaking down. And I can tell you for a fact that the one thing Miltoniopsis do not like is acidic media. Once the media starts to break down, they basically curl their toes up. They do not like it. And if they've got nowhere left for their toes to go, they will die. So take care with your media. You've got a happy balance with Miltoniopsis. It's a game. It's a game you have to play, I'm afraid, unless you grow in totally inorganic media. And who knows, these might do okay in inorganic media, but I don't grow that way, so I have to put up with media breaking down. However, the new bark that I've got is supposed to last years, so hopefully I won't have to disturb the plants. The game is not letting the media break down, but repotting the plant at its optimum time. And if you get that right, your plant will thrive. Keep the temperatures too high, it'll slow down. Unlike some orchids that you keep your temperatures up and boy do they grow like hell. You keep these too warm, they'll just stop growing. They don't like it. You get them too cold, they'll stop growing. They don't like it. If the media starts to break down, they'll slow up and die. They don't like it. Hence the expression, fussy little tykes. But all you've got to do is just, you know, keep on top of the things. So this media, all my Miltoniopsis, except for that one that hasn't been repotted yet, have been relatively recently repotted. So the media is in good nick. No smelly, beautiful. So this plant can steam on, pushing out a nice root system. The game is that at some point it will need repotting again. Don't do it when it's struggling. Don't do it in the middle of summer when it's hot. That could be its last straw. Don't do it when it's freezing cold in the winter and your light levels are really, really low. You put stress on the plant. And the one thing these things do not like is any form of stress. They're one of these, I like it comfortable, I like it just how I like it, and I don't like it any other way. A lot of the other orchids are far more tolerant. So, I mean, that one's coming on okay. Its new growth is pushing on. Single new growth. I'm not sure all the others have actually flowered yet. Can't remember, basically. Now that one has got a tag on it. It just says Miltoniopsis hybrid white. So I know which one's the white one. That's all I need to know. They all get looked after the same after all, don't they? Next one. Let's have a look at the weak one. I can't tell you why that's a weak one. It just is. It has got some new growths. They're pretty pathetic, but there are some. There are signs of root loss. It has lost some of its roots as a consequence of repotting. There's not much activity in that pot. So this one is struggling. It's also got some nasty marks on the leaves, which I have been keeping my eye on, and they haven't got any worse. They appeared relatively quickly. I don't do panic, as you know. I do thoughts and careful analysis. That's how I work. If I'd gone into panic mode, I'd have chopped half those leaves off. And what the hell would the plant be living off now? You remove half of its leaves, you've removed quite a lot of its ability to photosynthesize and get itself going again. So I'm putting up with those spots on the grounds they haven't got any worse for months. They came, they've stayed, and eventually they will be old leaves and they'll drop off. Again, light as a flipping feather and dry right down to the bottom. So you need a good soak. Now that one just says Miltoniopsis hybrid on the tag, but around the back of the tag it says red. So I know that's the red one. And that really is a beautiful bloom when that one comes out. That's flowered a couple of times for me. Now at the moment it's hanging on. That is not full of life and vigour. It's hanging on. But we're coming up to the time of year when the average temperatures during the day are going to drop. And they're going to drop down to this plant's comfort zone. So if it's got any chance of picking up, autumn's a good time, spring's a good time, winter's not, summer's not. These do not like winter or summer. They like autumn and spring. Yeah, so do I, come to think of it. Now this one, I'll save this one till last, that is showing signs of dehydration. Can you see? Those are new leaves, they should not be bent. Yeah? So that needs water about 2 days ago. It didn't get it, it's going to get it now. It's got quite a few new growths on this one. Yeah, that's actually 1, 2, 3 or 4 new growths on that one. Be nice if they all flower together. Pink. So by deduction, if I've got the red one, the white one and the pink one, the one without the tag is the purple one. Yay! Good when you know your plants. Again, that's dry down to the base, that needs a good soak. It's in relatively new media, hasn't long been repotted. In theory it should be thinking about putting out some decent roots now the weather's getting more suited to it. And hopefully it will push on. So, thing to remember with these things, do not let the media get acidic and start to break down, you'll kill your plant. Don't keep them in hot, dry, still air, you'll kill your plant. Don't get them too freezing cold, you'll kill your plant. There are many ways to kill a Miltoniopsis. And those ways would probably be okay for quite a few other orchids, but as I said, these are just fussy. Now this has got some of those little brown spots on some of the older leaves as well. Again, no panic, they've been there quite a while. They appeared when it had a little bit of stress going on due to the heat wave we had. So they've been there, how long ago was that? Two months, maybe 2.5 months. So they've been there a while, they're not getting any worse. So again, not a bad plant, yeah? So again, many ways to kill a Miltoniopsis. The list is quite long. as opposed to some other orchids where the list is very short. You've got a job to kill the things if you tried. Whereas these keel over quite easy. So most important thing with Miltoniopsis, a good healthy root system. Don't let the temperatures climb. They don't like it. They may live through it, but it'll stress them and it'll stall them. And then they've got to get going again. At the times of stalling, they are most likely to dump roots. So at the point where they're more comfortable again, they've lost their ability to recover. And I think that's why an awful lot of people lose them. They do not like any form of stress. If you've got the concertina leaves, it's due to dehydration. As we all know, there are two reasons for dehydration. You're not giving it enough water, number one, that's your fault. Keep your eye on your plants. These don't like to be wringing wet, they don't like to be soggy, they like to be just moist most of the time. Now these are soaking at the moment, but because the bark was bone dry, the bark's going to take a fair bit of that moisture into it, leaving some for the plant. So that will work okay. So there we go then, Miltoniopsis. Fussy little blighters, but when they bloom, they are stunning. They are one of the most attractive orchid flowers in my opinion. They're large, they're flat, they've got beautiful waterfall patterns coming down onto them. They are beautiful and most of them are highly fragrant. What more could you want? But they are a little unusual in their appearance. You know, they've got this silvery green look to them. You know, if that starts getting quite a darkish green, they're not getting enough light. If it starts getting yellow, it's either dying or it's getting too much light. Good game, Miltoniopsis. If you've got them and you grow them well, you have my congratulations. I do not grow them well. I can keep them going, and that's about as good as it gets. And the reason is it gets too warm in here for at least 3 months of the year. And during that 3 months, they go downhill a bit, or they stop and stall. And then I've got to try and get them going again in the autumn, while there's enough daylight length, the temperatures are far more comfortable for them, and before the winter sets in and the light levels drop right down. So, you listening, you four? You've got another month to get your act together and start pushing on. Otherwise it's going to be winter time and you're going to be stressed again. But if you can pick up now, you'll do well. So there we go, Miltoniopsis, one of my favourite orchids and one of my most cussed orchids as far as looking after in my environment is concerned. They're hanging in there, a couple of them are doing quite nicely, one of them's not doing that good, yeah, and this one, as I said, is showing distinct signs of dehydration, but not dying. It just hasn't been watered. It should have been watered a couple of days ago. I'm sure tomorrow morning when I look at that, that will have perked up, plumped up, and all will be fine. Okay, just a quick one on Miltoniopsis. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time.